Hey guys, I just watched a really cool video from Vice and I wanted to make a quick video giving my reaction to it. So the video is titled Black Conservatives Debate Black Liberals on American Politics, Extended Version. So apparently they had released a short version which was around like 6 minutes, and that video got really popular. A lot of people liked it, and there was kind of a demand that we release a larger, that they release a larger version of it. So this one is 38 minutes and 43 seconds. And I don't know how much or what they cut out of the video, but I thought the video was really well done. Everybody got a chance to express their view. Everybody got a chance to express their opinion. Nobody was calling anybody an Uncle Tom or any other words in this particular video, though people talked about experiences where after coming out as a conservative, they would have people who are very liberal, including white people who are very liberal, calling them these racially charged names. I thought that was very interesting that you'd have people on the left who are always wanting to talk about racism and always wanting to preach about racism, making these racist remarks at black people simply for not thinking the way they've deemed that a black person should think. So this was a great video, and I highly recommend it. There were a lot of different issues people talked about back and forth. With one of the comments some of the black liberals made was about tariffs, and they seem to be in favor of the tariffs. I personally am not in favor of that. I think that we should not have high tariffs. And the reason for that is I've read economics textbooks from Thomas Sowell, for example, and granted, a lot of my views come from Thomas Sowell, so fair enough if I'm only getting kind of a one-sided perspective. But he explained that historically tariffs don't help a domestic economy. That if you want to help a domestic economy, you want to have international trade. You want to be able to trade with other parts of the world and get ideas and products from people all around the world and get as much as you can from other cultures, which really is a great argument which refutes cultural appropriation and explains why people who would live near the coastlines tend to have more wealth than somebody who lives isolated up in a mountain somewhere. But that's a whole nother story by itself. Another very interesting thing that I've noticed with this is it seems like African Americans don't think the same way about politics as their white counterparts. And what I mean by that is when you ask a black conservative, why do you think this way about this issue? The way they express that and the way they think about that issue is not usually the same answer you get when talking to a white conservative. So, and I know that that's something where people are going to, say, oh, racism, but no, because we have different people in this country who come from different cultural backgrounds, and perhaps people who have like a German background and an Irish background have sufficiently mixed together where it's harder to tell that apart. But there are different cultural backgrounds in this country, and they influence how people think. Even people who came from different parts of Europe, where people thought a certain way, that can influence you even 5 generations down the road. Looking at my family, a lot of the way we think about things and a lot of the things we value was probably influenced by the cultures where we originally came from. Now, that's not to say that somebody is purely the product of their culture. At the end of the day, people are individuals. However, your culture and where you grow up does influence inevitably partly how you think. In the case of Ayn Rand, for example, who was a very, very big proponent of capitalism, I think a lot of that was very much influenced by the fact that she grew up in a communist society, and she saw how evil it was, and rejected it. So for better or for worse, your culture and your experiences are going to influence how you think. I grew up in a culture that speaks English, and a lot of my ancestors did not, but I speak English now because that's the culture I've grown up in. But some of the foods that I eat and some of the way I think about possibly education may have been influenced by some of those ancestors who may have come from a culture where those certain things were valued. And so what I'm seeing here with the debate between the black liberals and the black conservatives, I find it really, really interesting because a lot of what's being said is being said for very particular reasons. So you ask somebody, well, why do you support this? And they'll say, well, I support it for this and this and this reason. And usually what I see with black conservatives, and I hate to make a generalization, but at the end of the day, you have to make generalizations just to exist on the planet. I mean, men are generally taller than women. But what I've seen consistently with a lot of black conservatives is they'll tend to think very deeply about the issues. Most black conservatives I know will say, well, hey, I was a Democrat. A lot of them will say, I voted for Barack Obama. But then they'll say, hey, I could see that the Democrat Party did not have my best interests at heart. And I thought that was really something. And so I highly recommend checking out this video. Go watch it. I'll say it's one of the best videos I've ever seen, especially in recent years, on political issues. And towards the end, there was something that I really liked. Somebody who was on the black liberal side said, you know what, I see what you're talking about with starting businesses, and I really like that, and that's something I really agree with. You know, she had turned to a woman who was a black conservative, and I think that's something we need more of. And she's like, you know, I might not agree on everything that's being said, but one thing they all agreed on is that they want to have a better future for themselves, for their community, and for their children. And I thought that was really something, because I don't think that's the case with a lot of white liberals. I see a lot of white liberals who are on TV, who are in Congress, and what I see with them, and it's actually not just the white liberals in Congress, it's pretty much all of the Democrats in Congress. What I'm seeing from them is they don't seem to care about helping people and making a better future for America. They just care about hating Trump and hating capitalism. And it just blows my mind when you have Democrats getting on TV saying, we need to have a economic system that does well for the middle class. And it's like, we have a better economy now than we've ever had in the history of the United States. It's doubtful there's not very many countries in the world that have lived on our level of affluence. There's not very many countries in the world that live as well as that we do. Now that's rapidly changing, but it's because capitalism is spreading around the world, and more people are able to enjoy a free market, and more people are able to buy and sell different products. So definitely go check out this video. Go watch it. I guess one more fallacy I kind of want to address is one of the black liberals commented with some of the tax cuts. They said, well, that's a problem in this country, because if the rich are getting richer, then that means that other people have to be getting poorer. And that's really not true. If you look at the data over the history of the past few decades in the United States, the people who started out poor a few decades ago are almost all getting richer. And the same with rich people. So people will go up and down, of course. But the overall trend in the United States, if you ignore people who just got here and are just starting out in this country, is that the rich are getting richer, but the poor are also getting richer. Economics is not a fixed pie. We don't have a fixed amount of wealth in the United States. And it's important not to confuse money and wealth. And that's something I've talked about in my Medium articles. Money and wealth are not the same thing. You know, if I go and buy a book, you know, this is kind of a worn out book, but if I go and buy a book and it's $10 today, there's nothing says that there only has to be a certain number of copies of books in the world. I'm not explaining that very well, but anyway, that's partly why innovation is so great. Somebody invents the printing press, And now instead of having one monk labor for forever and a day to make one book that costs the same as a house, now we can have a machine that prints out books and you can go buy it at the store for $10. So wealth is not fixed. You could apply that same principle to food. You can apply it to computers. You can apply it to pretty much anything you can think of. So anyway, I just kind of want to leave you guys with that comment, and I think I'm going to stop talking now so that you can go watch this video, go check it out, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out more of my content. This is Greg, out.